Our next session is a panel discussion. This will involve 4 important actors of the FSHD community in the world, and this discussion will be moderated by Miriam Wagner-Long. We first met Miriam when she was chosen to intervene in the Project Mercury, and particularly to lead the European working groups. We could appreciate her efficiency and her kindness, and she will now lead the World FSHD Alliance, left orphan after the departure of Jun Kinoshita.
Yeah, thank you. While they are coming, I have a quick question for Amanda about...
Amanda, come up?
Yeah, please. In the meantime. So Amanda, thank you for presenting this thing about Project Mercury. How is Project Mercury dealing with the industry? Is there any kind of cooperation, how the industry can benefit from the research and the results of Project Mercury? Is there any integration at all?
Absolutely. So we have industry partners that they sit on the global task force level, so they help speak into that strategy that we're using so we can understand what industry needs in order to make trials faster and to make sure that we can get that access in different countries. So we have that conversation at the level of the global task force, and we are actively always recruiting more industry partners to come be involved in that conversation.
Okay, thank you. So together with us, we have the fabulous Emma. She's the CEO of FSHD Global in Australia. Thank you for coming here all the way, not only to you, but to your family and teenager daughter. How you managed to do that, I don't know. She is very active. She has been the voice of FSHD patients, but also actively working in the field of disability rights. She is publishing everything and sharing documentation, riding horses, running a farm. I don't know, superwoman. That's Emma.
Here we have also Fabio Figueiredo. He's an amazing person. And when I first met him in Marseille in 2018, he had just created his association ABRAFEU in Brazil with his colleague Eduardo Silveira. And now, only a few years later, there is a registry for Brazilian patients. The patients can have their blood tested for diagnosis in the US, and there is a center in São Paulo where patients can consult and where clinical trials can be held. So this is a real good achievement for Brazilian patients.
Thank you. And we also have Kees. What to tell about Kees in few words? I don't know. I need the entire morning. So Kees is the co-founder of FSHD Stichting here in the Netherlands. He's actively participating in many other groups of all kinds, but specifically related to FSHD as well. And he's a very generous person. In fact, we all need to thank him. He has actively contributing to having this conference organized here. So thank you very much, Kees, for all what you do.
And a huge hello from me. This is so exciting to see everyone here because I know who's been planning this conference and how long it's been to organize this. And I'm not sure if anyone has said thank you to FSHD Europe's board and everyone in the office for doing this. And I think before we get started, one big applause to all of you who have put this into place. Thank you. And conferences or patient connect meetings just like this are so important. And when Ria first opened this patient connect, she said that your voice is important. And I would like to add, it's not only important, it is powerful. And we've learned this morning, Amanda had just reiterated it again, we've learned about clinical trials, we learned about the importance of registries, and we also learned, and I think Raj mentioned it earlier today alongside Nicole, the standards of care guidelines. What this means is while we are a somewhat small but larger group here, everyone who's going home has a mission. And your mission will be, as a patient advocate, talk to your clinicians, talk to other patients, find and align with patients so that we can unite and have an even bigger voice. And I am inviting you today to take a trip with me around the globe, because the message that we're sending today is the message of hope. So what I would like to do is use the power and the knowledge of my distinguished panelists here to learn about what is currently going on in your countries, to learn about progress in your countries. Let's also talk a bit about challenges, and then send everyone home here excited about what's to come and be our next patient advocates. I do know that some of you have also shared some questions with us on the board outside. I will use those in the next couple of minutes, except for one. Someone asked for more cake. The person who asked for more cake, I believe there is plenty more cake, so you won't go starving. So let's get started with a question. I know we prepared, but this is a question I don't think I've prepared you with, because I think it might be quite a surprise. What's your superpower, Emma?
It's probably going to be the same as many other FSHs in the room, and I think that's adaptation. I think over the last 10 years, I've had to adapt like every aspect of my life as my physical and also mental abilities have changed and moved over time. And I think we are master adapters. You know, when you think about each incremental change in our lives that we have to, take on, and sometimes we get no notice that those changes are coming. I changed my house, my car, my mobility, and then in the last 4 years I changed my career because this disease, I decided it meant too much to me to sit on the sidelines. So I think adaptation.
What's your superpower, Case?
Yeah, I was. We have to wait a moment. Yeah, I was thinking about that, and when you asked Emma the question, I said that's Miriam, when she was the power lady, and I think I'm very grateful what she has done in expressing in a beautiful way what life in FSHD is. And I think when I look at my own son, who is seriously affected and diagnosed since 1992, I think it is the ability to adapt. There's two factors I would say. It's live today and live today full, not to worry too much about what might come, because you never know what comes and how quickly it comes. And then when it comes, adapt, but stay positive. And I have that, Yehud has, in English language, would say the walking example. Unfortunately, he cannot walk anymore, but he is the example about constant adaptation and still fully enjoying life.
What about you, Fabio?
For me, I have 2 points. First is hope, and second, this community. This type of Congress help us to have a visibility, focus, and believe it, we can find one solution. Of course, they have many challenges, many problems in between, but when usually I come once per year, I have a chance to share and learn a lot. And this is bring to me, and I deliver in Brazil the hope we have to find a solution. I believe that the superpower is always, I believe it is possible. It's very difficult, but it's possible. That's why I believe it is share to be here, and for me it's an honor to be here. For me is give me a lot of power to continue my challenge in Brazil, my association in Brazil, to catch up what is happening here in Europe and also in the West.
And Amanda, I know that you are representing patients across Canada and the US. So what would you say are their superpowers, especially when you're in touch with them on a daily basis?
Yeah, I have to echo what Fabio was saying. My immediate thought was, I think our superpower is this very community, the patient community, the people in the room today, and the other FSHers all over the world. Every time I come together with other patients at an event like this, I am inspired and motivated and completely refreshed. I think we have so much hope within us. I think we share so much information with each other. We learn so much from each other's experiences and stories. And there's just an energy that happens when we're together in community that I can't quite describe, but I think that is our superpower.
So hope, energy, adaptability. And now I'm going home, I have that momentum, and oftentimes I'm trying then to find a place where I can use my superpower. And I'm using you as an example, Fabio, because I know, and you shared this with me in 2018, you came to one of these conferences, I believe it was in Milan, and in Marseille, in France, en la France. And you said, I was just a one-man show, and everyone was already connected. Can you share a bit how you got started, knowing that you had hope, you knew you had to do something? How did you get here today from 2018?
First, a big support of FSHD Society, FSHD Europe, opened the door for one country like Brazil, far away from here, to understand, and I learned a lot in these meetings, in this Congress. We have opportunity to understand what's going on, the difficulties we have here, what we have to take care, we have to pay attention. It probably will happen when I will start in Brazil. That's why I learned a lot, and in this time we create a World FSHD Alliance. I explained to you yesterday. The first meeting is, I'm a baby. They have the other association, they have 35 years. How can I connect these conversations? Impossible. I don't have any information. I'm very new. I am new kids on the block. I cannot understand zero, but they have a very junior FSHD Society create World FSHD Alliance and help to step by step. We create the clusters in the World FSHD Alliance, and we understand step by step, of course, as I say, without the support of everybody here in this room, impossible. That's why the connection is very important. This community is very important. Without these people, and more will come probably, it's serious. Brazil cannot move. This is happening because all of you, directly or indirectly, help us to move forward.
Thank you, and it has a lot to do with communications, obviously, because we need to be able to communicate our global vision and send it to our fellow families in the countries. But I know that it also requires resources, it also requires knowing where the patients are. So maybe Case, coming to you, because you've been in this field for a long time, and you founded your own foundation. How important is it to stay in touch, to communicate with clinicians, to communicate with other patients, and to build an alliance within your country in your language?
Well, the short answer is, of course, hugely. But going back to when we started, it was just my wife and I learning that my son has been diagnosed with FSHD. We had no clue what the muscular dystrophy was. We had no clue what it meant, and we thought about a little bit of physiotherapy, and that's it. And from that moment on, we just done and websites and information through the net in 1980. 1990 wasn't great, so you have to find out. And if you can only find out by going out and talk to the individuals, meet the doctors, meet the And when we decided that we could make a difference, with my network and my wife's network, we could find out ways to generate funds for research. And if you have not, once you know that, I was helped enormously by my company Unilever, who does a lot of research, and they made their website or their systems available to find out who are the most important professors, scientists in this world. And surprise, surprise, we found out that two of them, Professor Patberg and Rune Frans, who was a Finnish professor in Leiden, they happened to be on that top 10 list. Well, what's more ideal than you have two of them so nearby? And then you can talk, and you can talk about what their issues were. And you immediately find out that their issues were not enough money to support. And then you say, okay, there's one thing I probably can do with my network is raise some funds. And that's what we have been doing from the past till now. But what strikes me incredibly, and I still get the shivers from it, when I talked to Patberg and Rune Frans in those days, and I met their teams, yeah, on the fingers of one hand you could count the scientists. And if you see their teams now, and if I look at what we saw the last 2 days in the science meeting, 200 and something people that are passionately doing research, finding solutions for FSHD. And that is such an incredible development in only 20 years. Of course, I would have hoped that my job was over and that 20 years after we started the foundation, that the foundation was not necessary anymore. But unfortunately, it is necessary, and unfortunately, it takes much longer than we think. But we're so close to the finish line that makes me really excited. Then I was very grateful that we had the possibility to start the foundation so many years ago.
And let's take it to Australia and take the aspect of hope and everything that's happening. And you said we're so close to the finish line. What makes you hopeful? What do you see happening in Australia and maybe even globally that you can feel like we need to align the puzzle pieces and we have something really great happening here in our country?
So like many people sitting here, when I was diagnosed 13 or so years ago, I was told there would be nothing in my lifetime for this disease, to make myself comfortable, to live a good life as possible, but to, I guess, lower my expectations of myself and of the medical community and not to pin my identity or hope onto searching for treatment. So that was the advice that was given to me, and I think was given in really good intention, because I think the neurologist that was helping me thought that would probably be a good way for me to just accept my fate and to just deal with it and move forward. And I think that advice is still quite often given. But depending on, what type of person you are, and some people might say I'm a little, particularly controlling, or I like to be in control of my own destiny, and that didn't sit well with me, and it wasn't a healthy way. So for me to accept it and not do anything about it was giving up. And I think I entered a very sedentary phase in my life. I disengaged from a lot of things that I used to enjoy. I sat down, I focused on pain, I focused on loss of mobility for a little while, and I think it was unhealthy for me. Then once I became involved with FSHD Global, which was back, a couple of years after my diagnosis, but, 10 years or so ago now, everything shifted in me. I spoke at a couple of events about living with FSHD, and I started to become involved with the community. And I wasn't expecting that involvement to necessarily end in treatments or a cure, but I started to get a sense that things were happening, and maybe that that was a little bit of a pessimistic view that was given to me. And I thought, well, if I can do something, I might be able to make a difference. And so I started to become more involved as a patient volunteer. I was an ambassador for the foundation. I would run small fundraising events. I held a movie night on World FSHD Day. I became a real nuisance to my family and friends because I would ask them to help me fundraise or to get involved, because sometimes we need a little bit of muscle behind us. And I just loved it. And so I did. I reached a point in my life where I thought, no, I'm not a scientist, so I'm an accountant. But I seem to have a knack for putting some puzzle pieces together and connecting people, and I enjoyed it. And so about 4 years ago, I made a shift and decided to work full-time for FSHD Global, and I was very fortunate to be able to take on, the leadership role in the foundation. And that's been the shift in me. And I think for me, seeing only in the last 4 years from the first conference I attended until now, the change in the messaging that we hear, we've gone from, an ambitious goal to we have a target. We know what we need to do. We're actively working towards it. We've identified new challenges along the way as we've managed the old ones. And I don't think that's going to stop. I think that's what we should be wanting to do, is find out the next challenge and the next problem to solve. But I see that we're really on the journey now, and we're seeing, potential treatments enter the clinic. So I think if that's not hope building, I don't know what else would be.
Thank you. And let's take it a bit further into tools that we have that could assist us. There's everything that's happening around us is somehow tied to technology. And I know that many of you have just recently launched registries or an app. Let's talk a bit about the importance of it, because Amanda, when you just shared your presentation, you also shared the barriers, things that we need to push us forward. Can you talk to us a bit more about what Better Life is all about, and what the advantages in using it and connecting the community and the pluses it does?
Certainly, yes. So I didn't mention Better Life specifically in here, but this is a health and a research platform that the FSHD Society has been developing. It's currently just in the US, but we are really seeking to be able to take it global. And it is meant to be more than just a data collection platform, which is typically what a registry is. You will go in and maybe fill out a survey on paper, or maybe enter some data online. But Better Life FSHD has that capability to collect that registry data, but it also has actually been built with the FSHD community first and foremost in mind, to provide the information and tools that you need to really take control of your health wherever you are in your disease journey. And so there's this platform has a lot of really cool features, like it'll bring up very targeted resources and education that might be relevant to you. So when, for example, Better Life learns that you like to do exercise to help manage your FSHD, or that you wear AFOs, there's a feed of resources that'll bring up to the top information about exercises and AFOs. And then there's ways that you can see and interact with your own data and the data of others on the platform. And so I think it's so important for the patient community to be engaged in this type of research and engaged in the registries, because it really helps to move the needle forward for research and trials and therapeutic development. And the goal of this is to just make it more interesting and useful for you along the way. So I think this is going to be a really great tool. And as I mentioned, unfortunately, I can't give it to you all right now, but we're working hard to be able to make it available in a much larger area.
And I remember our discussion in the past during the Global Task Force meetings, what can I do if I don't have a registry in my country yet? And Brazil has just implemented, or a while ago, an app, which is not the same than Better Life. It is different because it's adapted to your country. Can you talk a bit about the threshold on entering my data into an app? What does your app do?
When I start to participate in the Congress, the meetings, I understand that the data is the most important point to move forward. The most difficult point is try to find someone to invest one donation to help us. And some point we find someone who wanna support us in Brazil. I asked him, I don't want money. I want if you help me to find someone to do this app for mobile application to use for the patients. We create that, we spent 2 years to implement. The name is Teleneumo. And today, this Teleneumo is working all of Brazil. The patient can do by yourself, by mobile or computer. You can do for one or other. And the data is the patient is responsible for his data. He can't continue and can go outside or can leave the system. But the most important point, we have steps to use this Teleneumo. First one is you have to have a clinician diagnosis to enter. We will check that, and when we check, you will go in the second questionnaire. And this questionnaire, I follow the questionnaire we have in FSHD, we did in 2017. I followed the same data I put in the system. That's why today we have many patients, and all the communications we do through this mobile. That's why it's very easy. The guy received the information, the guy can go, and more than that, all the information regarding the patients is there. If the patients go to the doctor, you can open and find all the information, all the data regarding the exams, what they have, what they don't have. That's why we help also the patients to, sometimes it's very difficult to explain what's going on, the exam, the test, all the data, and we give him this also to carry with him in order to show. That's why it's worked very well. Today we have almost 1,000 patients. Some people with DNA, we do DNA in Peter Jones. But we're working, we move well.
Thank you. And before I get to you, Case, I would like to ask you, Emma, to share the exciting launch of your platform as well. And maybe you can tell us a bit, what is it? Is it Better Life Australia? Is it an app? What exactly is it, and what can I do with it?
Well, I think it's wonderful because I built it. So our registry app is called Cure FSHD, and similar to Fabio's, it's a patient-led patient registry, but also health data hub. And you know, FSHD Global is very patient-centric, so we were really motivated to make sure that, you know, we're contributing the data for research and we're powering industry interest in our country, but also that this is a tool for patients to use now so that they can better manage their health. So when they, you know, you register on the app, it can either be downloaded on the Apple or Android store or accessed via a web link. It's a health platform, so it's, you know, all privacy compliant and things like that. We use the standardized FSHD questionnaires, and you work through storing all of your genetic data. If people haven't had their genetic test, they can be, you know, access genetic counselling or be referred through. I was actually very fortunate through FSHD Global and our board to come to an agreement that we don't want finances to be a barrier for patients who want to become trial and treatment ready. So we sponsor all the costs of any out-of-pocket costs for diagnostic testing. We facilitate the saliva test then through the Jones lab. But we also provide a full-body MRI scan and Springbok analysis. For those who haven't heard of Springbok, it's a company that provides incredible data analytics over MRI, and it produces a full body heat map showing muscle by muscle your fat infiltration and muscle volume. And everyone that has this scan done receives a patient-facing report that they can take to their neurologist, their physiotherapist. They can use it to access support in Australia through our National Disability Insurance Scheme. But FSHD is largely an invisible disease until you start using a mobility device. So it's a really powerful self-advocacy tool so that you can show people why you have weakness and show them on your report, the muscles that are affected and to what extent they're affected. So we've found this really, really useful for helping our patients now better understand their bodies, become self-advocates, and like Fabio was saying, have all of the information at their fingertips. So we've had patients tell us that they used to have to take a binder of information when they're seeing a new doctor, and now they can just take their app along with them and be able to export information from the app and provide through to their care providers. From here, we have other functionalities that we will be building into the registry. It can integrate with wearables, we can send messages, we can recruit for trials, and it allows us to be really adaptable. So if industry tells us that there's certain information that's needed, we can upload a new questionnaire or survey very, very quickly and push it out to all of our participants. So I think technology offers us some really amazing ways to connect with patients and also to make sure that a registry process isn't a one-way conversation, that it's also giving value back to patients like in real time.
Thank you. And now to you, Case, wearing several hats, and this question is referring to your European hat and also to your Dutch hat, because FSHD Europe, if you don't know if your country has a registry, find out, contact FSHD Europe. This is your go-to resource. This is why everyone is working so hard to make sure that you have the best information available to take to your country. But with your Dutch hat on, I know you've been saying we really are eager to make this registry in our country one of the best in the world. Why is it so important to have a good registry? Why do you want it to be of high quality? Why is it necessary?
If I wanted to have evidence why it's necessary, I'm thinking about the meeting we had yesterday with 6 people from one pharmaceutical company, and they were preparing us as patient organization for what they think they need for their trial. And I remember that I said at a certain moment in time, and now I'm wearing my FSHD Europe hat for a moment, how perfect it is for a pharmaceutical company who wants to do a trial in Europe and knows very little about Europe to have a one-stop shop and talk to the FSHD Europe patient organizations. And you just have to ask the question, what do you want to know? Do you need patients? Do you want us to do a quick questionnaire about a certain topic? We can do that because we know we can access through the countries, because that's an important element. Through the countries, we can access the patients. We at Europe, we don't have the details, but the countries have the details. So you come to us, we talk to the countries, very quickly we get a reply, and you have an answer, you pharmaceutical company, to your question. But we can do also allow you access to the data, and you can do your analysis. You can do your your progress of the disease over many years, and therefore that helps in choosing the right parameters to measure the results of your trial. And I think that is an incredible. It will lead to better trials, I think, better ways that trials will be created together. It will gain time, because pharmaceuticals don't have to go to individual countries and ask the question every time again. So we're providing with those data a service that has incredible value for the pharmaceuticals.
And I know that a lot of us are concerned with everything that is going on about our data. Well, because essentially it is us, it is what we own, and we don't want it to go outside or be misused. So can you talk a bit more about the safety of data?
Yeah. If you, very often I get the question asked, who owns the data in a registry? The short answer is the patients. Nobody else. They are the owners. Whatever structures are chosen to have the registries designed, but the patients are the owners. And if a pharmaceutical asks for who can be included in our trial, they get a number or a code. And when they say, okay, the people with those characteristics we really love, can we talk to them? Then we go to the local doctor and get the local doctor to knows which code is correlated with which individual, and they ensure then that person is approached, or the management of the registry does that. So the data are totally aligned with the local legislation, and in our case with the legal GDPR legislation, the confidentiality about data. And one of the fears is, of course, if we start to centralize, people think then, oh, all my data are being transferred. Let me take as an example, sorry Amanda, the worst example in today's world, my data go to America. Well, with that particular country in the current situation, that would worry everybody who is not in America really stiff, because that is something you don't want. But that is not the issue. The issue is that, or the solution is, the data are held locally, and they are protected by local legislation or European legislation.
And you just mentioned patient consent, meaning the data I can put in, I can also ask to be deleted, and that's part of every registry, whether you're in America, in Australia, in Brazil,
absolutely,
or anywhere in Europe, or anywhere else in this world. So let's take it from, and I think it was a good example earlier that was said, how important registries are, because they also inform you about clinical trials. And there was one question I saw outside, and maybe Amanda, you can help us explore this question, is how can patients influence clinical trials? So I get a phone call, I might be eligible. Is that the point that I start influencing a clinical trial, or is it way before then?
It's way before then, actually. And this is one of the important roles that registries can play, and that gives you an opportunity to share your experience with the disease and your preferences for things through your local registry before clinical trials even start. And companies will come to registries to understand the patient population in an area when they're in the process of designing their studies. So that's a really important place for you to get started now. And I would also say the other way is to be involved with your patient advocacy organization, because as Case just described, companies will come to FSHD Europe and want to understand what are the patient needs in your area. And when you're talking to your patient advocacy organization, that flows up into these conversations. So be sharing your stories, share your preferences, share your voices with your organizations, with the registries. And there was one other thought I had on this note. Oh, and if you do participate in a clinical trial, talk to your study coordinator and your study team about the experience that you're having as well, because the doctors and the coordinators want that feedback, and they can also help pass that along.
Do you want to say something?
Yeah. A question I get a lot about participation in the registry that I think is worth clarifying is that sometimes people think that because they're in the registry, there'll be an obligation or an expectation to participate in a trial. So I just also wanted to make clear that the way that all the registries operate is that when that opportunity arises and a trial is coming, within your area that you could be eligible for, there's no expectation and there is no obligation to participate. It's an invitation, and it just might be that you're notified that there's something in your area. So just to be really clear, but even if you choose not to be in the trial, the fact that your data has been considered and included in the registry, you've already helped get part of the way there. So you're still a powerhouse behind progress, even if it's not right for you. And it's a very personal decision on whether you do want to take part in a trial. And it's, even your patient advocacy groups, we're encouraging trials to the area. We want to make that available to you, but we have absolutely no opinion and no position on whether or not you as an individual participate. So don't feel that you're letting us down if you say, this one's not for me. Don't feel that we're keeping track, or that, if you've participated in a study, that we'll target you first because we want to, you're ahead of the game. It is completely level playing field. There's no preference and there's no obligation.
Absolutely, Ricardo.
Thank you very much. Coming back to this point, somebody mentioned something to me I've never thought about, is that the inclusion criteria for clinical trials has nothing to do with the group that would benefit from the drug. So the fact that you are overweight or not, or in a wheelchair are not eligible for a clinical trial doesn't mean that you are not going to be able to take the pill. So it's two different groups, right? So I've never thought that someone could think that the fact that they are excluded could mean that they wouldn't get the drug or be eligible for the drug. So I wanted to highlight this in case there is that question.
Okay. Anyone would like to respond to this, to Ricardo?
Thank you for looking at me. I think that's certainly the hope, Ricardo, and we won't know until the regulators really look at the data and make those decisions, but I think everyone in the room, and I think all of the companies that are developing right now, hope that they can get approval for anyone with FSHD and not just that specific criteria. So we're all advocating for that, and that's what we all want, and we hope will happen.
And also know that that's also part of the work that Project Mercury is doing, is to try to make sure that there is access to medications once they're approved. So it's almost in two different stages. They conduct the clinical trial to prove the drug works and that it's safe, and then post-approval, the whole piece around market access and who is eligible to receive the drug country by country is a whole different process that we're all on a big learning curve about as patient advocates, but we have amazing advisors and experts that are helping guide us, and each one of us working in this field wants to make sure that the broadest population possible benefits from all of this hard work.
And one of the questions I received before going into this discussion, actually two, I'll start with the one, and I'm not sure who would like to answer to this, but if there's no clinical trial in my country, how do I get it into my country? What do I have to do? And everyone is looking at Amanda, but I'm also looking at you, Fabio.
Fabio has, yes.
As what we did in Brazil to be prepared to host some clinical trial in Brazil, we in Milan 2 years ago. Yes, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we asked to come together with the University of Kansas to be part of MOVE. We started to move, normal MOVE, not MOVE Plus. And this year, month ago, our study is MOVE Plus. We have 70 patients already in Brazil. We started now the second year for a study in the region in order to be prepared, because this is put us in the same level of all the countries. That's why it's very important data, and you have the structure in order to have a clinical trial readiness in the region. That's why we did a presentation 2 days ago with Cristiane Moreno and Daniele. We stay in the largest hospital in São Paulo. We have many patients there. That's why we are very prepared to receive it, to host some clinical trial in Brazil. I hope so soon.
Yeah, so technically you're also saying we have to be attractive for pharmaceutical industry to come to us and to see that we are ready. So this again underlines why it's so important that you speak and we speak in unison and we come together in platforms such as this. And I know you want to say something in a minute.
I only want to repeat what this morning has been said by the doctor and from Leiden, and it is, well, ensure that you can be found, so that's a way. Second way is talk to your doctor and say, I hear about this trial, I want to participate. At least that's a way to do it. And keep your ears and eyes open to all the communication we'll do about what's going on in this world. And then you can respond and at least qualify for participation.
And, go ahead, Emma.
Well, just to touch on your point, if there are no trials in your country and you can't participate, all of the industry partners that we have been speaking to do have, global access programs, and it doesn't mean that each drug will come to each country at the same time. There will be, different time periods of which where, approved therapies will be available in different countries. But that's where the patient voice is really, really important, and the importance of local advocacy really matters. So if you think there is no activity in your country, even if there's no clinical trial activity, having active patient voices is where you can influence what's happening. So, get involved. FSHD Europe has amazing connectivity opportunities, and I know that they're looking for local country-specific patient advocates to step up and contribute. And I can tell you, in Australia, we're a very isolated country. We used to feel like we're going it alone sometimes, but with this global community, you're truly not alone, and all of us are here to help any patients who want to stand up a local patient advocacy organisation. We have templates and tools and amazing support, and we're really fun people to be around, as you can tell. So I think that's just my little shout out from that if that's something that concerns you, because that local advocacy is really important to make sure that these approved therapies are available.
And that was a wonderful segue, because where my mind went was just one step further, very practically speaking. If there's nothing in your country and you want to make it happen, start talking to people. What's very important, Miriam said, is how do you make my country attractive to industry? And that is to show that you have a patient community that's active and you have clinicians that can run a trial and are knowledgeable about FSHD. So start talking to your clinician, ask them questions, tell them about the other trials that are going on, tell them how interested you are, make connections with other patients, bring them into those conversations, show that you have those connections made in your country and be building those relationships. And as Emma mentions, there's a lot of really great tools available for you through the FSHD World Alliance and through all of us here. So we're happy to help support that process.
And that's a nice segue to the World Alliance as well, because the World Alliance meets online on a quarterly basis, virtually, and everyone that participates, regardless of where you're from, it's an amazing community alongside with FSHD Europe and other regions to share resources, share what's currently going on in the various countries. And if you think about families sitting in this room, wait until you meet the other families from all over the world, because it doesn't matter where you're from, whether you are from Israel, Palestine, whether you're from Russia or Ukraine, we all come together on this platform because we all have the same vision, and that's what makes this community so unique. So, yeah, I think that's worth to applaud, yeah. And the World Alliance, FSHD Europe, patient advocacy groups, all of this must be coming from somewhere. And you touched on volunteers and patient advocates. If there was one message you can give to everyone sitting here, what would you invite everyone here to do or to explore in order to help us really drive this momentum forward?
I think we're back to our superpower again, which is our community. So I think, we have a saying, and I often steal it. I don't actually know where it arose from, but we always say we're stronger together. And I think that is really true. So I think you start small, and you might have, and it's not just about money. When we talk about holding activities, they don't have to be fundraisers. They can be community connection opportunities. They can be just about collaborating and forming a plan, raising awareness for FSHD, helping people understand life with FSHD, supporting people who are newly diagnosed, bringing them into your community so that when you're forming a registry or when you are engaging with industry, or if you're lobbying to decision makers in your government about the way they fund research or the way they fund diagnostic equipment, or whatever part you would like to play, I think my plea is to be active and do something, because if we're not doing it, who is? There's no anonymous person that's behind the scenes pedaling this bike for us. We all have a role to play, and it starts by just doing something.
Yes.
I wanted to add, in behalf of FSHD Europe, we created a patient advisory group whose aim is to discuss with pharmaceutical industry to help them to build clinical trials that are answering all the patients' questions, and essentially how it is organized and how can they favorize patient participating. And for this patient advisory group, we would need to recruit persons who can speak in behalf of the FSHD community. So if your organization is already part of FSHD Europe, you can talk to your organization and see and tell you are volunteer for that kind of activity. It would be very useful.
Merci. And let's wrap it up in, I would say, one sentence. Can we do that? If we're sitting here in 2 years, we don't know yet where we'll be in 2 years, somewhere in Europe. And you've just done a beautiful summary, but I would like to ask you three now, where do you hope in 2 years we will stand? And that counts for your country, Brazil, your region, and maybe even here.
I would like to have different problem. we have the treatment, and now we will try to support the other people to have access into the treatment. I believe that in few years, maybe next year, 2027, have the treatment arrived. But arrived is one step, but we have many steps after that, because the treatment is big step. But to share and give to all the patients is a different step. That's why I believe we will have different problems, different discussions, different focus. Because today we have one target. Everybody here, they have one target here, to find the treatment for FSHD. This is the main goal for everybody. If everybody here is here today to find that, that's why the most important point is this. When we find that, of course we will come new ones, problems, but that's the life. With this community, I believe we can find the good solution, because we have a large experience, good people, and good heart, everybody. That's why I trust in this team.
Great. I mean, that was wonderfully stated. I completely agree. The thing I would add then is, because of that, because we'll have new problems, new challenges, we'll be one step along the way. We'll have hopefully we'll have a treatment, and we'll be getting access to everyone. I would hope that the people in this room have at least doubled in 2 years. So that is on all of you to go home and share this information and spread the word and continue to get more engagement in your local communities.
Yeah, I probably give a typical business answer to your question. And it's the simple one-liner for the Netherlands is I want Holland to be totally trial ready for everything that's coming at us. And that means that I want to double the participation of the registry from 500 to 1,000. I want to see 3 to 5 clinics totally ready to do the trials. I want to see all the patients ready to participate in trials and prepared for that, or prepared to share the data that can be used for further longer-term studies. I want the doctors to be prepared to assist. You heard this morning how important it is to assist the people who participate in a trial. And I want to use AI and IT in the best possible way to make our registry as interactive as possible.
And Emma, what is your vision?
One thing that we haven't really talked about today, but that is really, really important to me, is that as we're doing all of that, and I think it probably goes without saying that everyone will have this opinion, but our early onset patients, I would like to see the same opportunities awarded to children that are dealing with this disease as there are for adults. So expanded access to clinical trials for children and non-ambulatory participants, and that's something that's really important to me, that I think between now and the next 2 years, I know, we're working really hard to catch up for early onset patients. I think they're not forgotten, but we're a little bit behind with early onset than where we could be. So that's my really big aspirational goal, and my significant focus for the next 12 months. So from 2 years from now, I think we'll be caught up and we'll be all on the path together.
Thank you so much. And we are coming to the end, so I want to thank all 4 of you and the 2 of you for participating. Are there any questions other than cake?
So it's time for you now, for questions, I mean.
I hope this isn't too specific, so you spoke about the Springbok MRI patient report. I've had an MRI in the UK, but I have no access to anything legible to a normal human. Is there any way that I can link those 2 things together?
There is. So the Springbok technology, and I am an ambassador for Springbok, but I don't work for them, and I'm an ambassador because I've brought the technology into FSHD. So I know that they can retrospectively analyse MRI. Obviously it's better if you have a new MRI that is within their protocols, but even quite average MRIs they've been able to retrospectively analyse. If it's an old MRI though, it might not tell you anything that's relevant for right now. But we have sites for Springbok throughout Australia, but they are very active in the US as well, particularly in sports medicine, and they run, and in the UK, Raj? 4 sites? 4 sites for Springbok.
Sorry, Emma, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say, I think there are at least 4 sites that they have it at. It would be privately for now. I'm not sure who asked the question, but whoever's UK, let's talk. Because one of the things that I think I want to do over the next couple of years is to raise some money to do some of those MRIs. They're private at the moment, and I think they're mainly in kind of sports or very specific medical clinics. But I spoke to Brian, Emma, just so you know, and so I'm aware that there are clinics for Springbok.
Yeah, they do have involvement with some of the sports clinics in the UK as well, so there probably would be commercially available opportunities. But Raj and I can connect you with the team if it's of interest.
Hi, I'm Helen here from the UK registry. I didn't see who said that about the MRIs either, but just to say that if you are in the UK registry, you can share that MRI with us and we can upload it and attach it to your registry record. Then it can be accessed if we have researchers or people come to use the data. And we can also do the same with genetic reports. I don't know if that was mentioned. Apologies, I had to nip out and check out quickly. But one thing we've been doing as well is empowering patients to get hold of their own genetic reports from their clinicians, and that can help you be ready for clinical trials as well. I hope that's okay to say. That's the situation in the UK at least.
Thank you. Any more questions? And if you have a question on your way home, you know where to find all of us. Everyone here who's sitting on this panel, who's on the FSHD board, and Maria and her team, we are here for you. And you see it, I think you might, no, you don't see it on the screen anymore. I see it right here. Together we can accelerate hope, and this is exactly why we're here. So thank you again for sharing not only your knowledge, but your very personal stories. Thank you for listening. And I know, Sheila, you wanted to wrap this up, so may I invite you to come up here. Thank you, everyone. I think round of applause for these panelists.
So thank you, everyone. I just wanted, it's really just to finish the conference to say what a great occasion it's been. I'd like to thank various people. I'd like to thank our sponsors who've generously donated, and so thank you for that, and we look forward to working with some of you in the future. I'd like to thank all our speakers for all the information they've given us, the exciting news about what's happening, and also the idea that we can live interesting and creative and powerful lives with FSH. I'd like to thank everyone who ran a workshop. I'd like to thank our moderators who kept us to time so diligently. But the two people I'd really like to thank are Ria and Ingrid, because they're the people who've made this happen. And just to really embarrass you, we've got some small we have some small gifts for you, which we hope will forever remind you of this amazing weekend. So thank you very much indeed. And the other people I really want to thank are all of you for coming along, for participating, with such energy and enthusiasm. It's been a very full-on weekend. I hope you feel excited and inspired and energized and connected. I hope you've met people with your condition, you've made local links. So it just remains for me to say thank you so much for coming and contributing, and to stay connected and have a safe journey home, and hope to see you again soon. Thank you.